Imagine a massive stone tower sitting alone in the middle of a freezing, violent ocean. Inside, a warm fire is burning. A meal is set on the table, but the 3 men who were supposed to eat it, gone. No blood, no signs of a struggle, just an empty island. This isn't a movie. This is the Flannan Isles Lighthouse mystery of 1900. On December the 26th, a relief ship finally arrived at the island. The captain blew the horn. No answer. They fired a flare. Nothing. When the rescue team broke open the lighthouse door, the silence was deafening. The clock on the wall had stopped. A single chair was knocked over. 2 sets of outdoor weather gear were missing, but one was still hanging there. Rule number 1 of the lighthouse: you never leave it completely unattended. Why would one man run out into a freezing winter storm without his coat? The real terror was waiting for them inside the official logbook. The final entries weren't about the weather. They were written by a man losing his mind. December 12th. Severe winds. Thomas is crying. Thomas was a hardened sailor. He'd survived shipwrecks. Why was he crying? December 13th. Storm still raging. We are all praying. These were thick stone walls built to withstand anything. What were they praying to? The final entry. December 15th. Storm ended. Sea is calm. God is over all. They survived. The sea was calm. So why did they vanish? Here is the twist that makes absolutely no sense. Coast Guard records show there was no storm on those days. The sky was clear. The ocean was completely flat. The storm wasn't outside. It was inside the lighthouse. Whatever they saw made them open the heavy door and step out into the abyss. And the ocean just swallowed them whole. Story number 2. The Ghost Ship. December 1872. A massive merchant ship is drifting silently in the Atlantic Ocean. No sails are set. No one is at the wheel. It's just floating. Another ship spotted it and sent a crew to investigate. What they found makes no sense. The ship was perfectly intact. No damage. No leaks. In the captain's cabin, breakfast was still sitting on the table. Cups of tea were still warm. Toys were neatly arranged on a child's bed. The ship's cargo, completely untouched. 6 months of food and water still sitting in the storage. So, did pirates attack them? No. All the crew's money, jewelry and valuables were left exactly where they belonged. The logbook showed the final entry was written 10 days ago. Everything is fine. Here is the detail that will give you chills. The only lifeboat on the ship was still firmly attached to the deck. They didn't sail away. They didn't drown in a storm. 10 people, including a mother and her baby, just walked to the edge of the ship and stepped into the water. checked under the captain's bed. Wrapped in an old cloth, they found a massive sword. And the blade was covered in dried blood. If there was no mutiny and no pirates, whose blood was it? Then the search party noticed something even stranger on the outside of the ship. Deep, deliberate axe cuts. Someone had hacked into the heavy wooden hull, not to sink it, but like a frantic attempt to cut away something that had attached itself to the ship. But the final nail in the coffin, the navigation room, the ship's compass, the chronometer, and the navigation books were gone. But they weren't just stolen. They were unscrewed from the tables. Carefully, surgically. You don't take your time unscrewing a compass if you're running for your life. Unless you are navigating your way to something. Whatever was out there in the freezing fog, it didn't just attack them. It invited them. And they followed the coordinates straight to the bottom of the ocean. Story number 3. The Mountain Pass. February 1959. The Ural Mountains. 9 experienced hikers set up camp on a snowy slope. The locals had a specific name for this place. The Mountain of the Dead. These weren't amateurs. They were professionals. They knew how to survive in minus 30 degrees, but they never came back down. When the rescue party finally found their camp weeks later, what they saw defied all human logic. The tent was half buried in the snow, but the main entrance was still firmly tied shut. The hikers hadn't left through the door. The tent was violently slashed open with a knife from the inside. Imagine the sheer panic. What makes 9 survival experts cut their way out of a warm tent and run into a deadly blizzard in the dead of night without their coats or shoes? The search party found their footprints in the deep snow. But here is the detail that will keep you awake. They weren't running. The footprints showed they walked away slowly, calmly, walking barefoot into a minus 30-degree storm, as if something in the dark woods was calling them. The searchers followed the footprints to the edge of the dark forest. Under a massive cedar tree, they found the first 2 bodies. They were in their underwear, next to the ashes of a dead fire. But the branches on the cedar tree were snapped and broken, almost 15 feet up. They were desperately climbing the tree, trying to escape something on the ground, or trying to see something coming in the distance. Months later, the rest of the hikers were found deep in a ravine. This is where the autopsy reports make absolutely no sense. Externally, the bodies had no major cuts, no claw marks, no blood. But internally, their ribs were completely shattered. Their skulls were crushed. The lead doctor stated the force required to do this was equal to a high-speed car crash. And one female hiker was missing her tongue and both of her eyes. The Soviet military immediately classified the case as top secret. Why? Because of what they found on the hikers' clothes. The bodies had a strange orange glow, and their clothing was was highly radioactive. Whatever found them in the dark wasn't human. The final story. The deep forest. If you ask any veteran park ranger, they will tell you the golden rule of the deep woods. If you are miles off the trail and you hear someone calling your name, you never answer back. You just turn around and walk away. In the summer of 2018, a rescue officer was searching for a missing boy. He was 10 miles deep into an unmapped area, and suddenly the forest went completely dead. No birds, no wind, just pure, suffocating silence. That's when he found the impossible, right in the middle of the dirt and trees. A perfectly clean, white, carpeted staircase leading up to nowhere. No house, no ruins, just stairs. The officer froze. The rule is, you do not touch them. He started slowly backing away, and then a voice called out from the dark. It was asking for help, but it wasn't the missing little boy. The voice he heard was his own voice. Something in the dark was perfectly mimicking the exact radio call he made an hour ago. He shined his flashlight into the trees. Standing there, wearing the boy's yellow jacket, was a creature 8 feet tall. And it smiled, pointing directly at the stairs. "Come up," it whispered.